Hi guys, Celestia here. If I cough during this storytelling, I'm sorry. I am still sick. But it's nice and quiet here today. Kind of gloomy, kind of gonna rain. So I decided that since there was nobody around, what better time to do a video? So this is part 14, and it's going to take place at the end of part 12, actually, where the elders find out just how mad Elthanor really is. And Macathis has convinced Falar and the family that they need to go and stay with Rowan and Mead. So we're going to pick it up from there. Gleneth is a little put out by Falar's high-handed tone. She's a little miffed, perhaps. So she turns to go and do what her spouse has told her to do. Falar senses that she's upset with him. So he jumps up from where he's sitting and he goes and he taps her on the arm, and she turns to him with this "now what" look on her face, and he grabs her hands and he says, "You know I don't like being this way with you." She said, "I know." He says, "But dear, you can be so stubborn." He says, I truly believe that Macathis is right. I truly believe that we need to do this. I know you don't want to leave our home. I don't want to leave our home." He said, "But I really think that this is for the best." She said, I know. She said, she said, "It's just upsetting." She said, "There's so many memories here." He said, "Darling woman." Oh, he puts his hands on either side of her face, and he was like, "This isn't forever." He said, "This is just until all of this nonsense settles down." He said, "Until we can find Elthanor and, find her cronies that she's poisoned their minds." He said, "Then we'll be home." He said, "I don't want you to worry about that right now." He says, "Just probably for a few days." She said, "Well, I hope you're right." He said, I don't see the future." He said, "But I can't see it being more than a few days." She said, "Very well." She said, "I'll pack some things for you as well." "Oh," he said, "would you mind?" So she turns and he gives her a little pat on the bum. "Oh, Lar." She giggles and runs off. He turns to see Macathis still standing there, and he says, "Macathis, is there something that you need?" And Macathis says, "What?" Lar says, "Are you all right?" He said, Yes, I'm fine." "Why? Don't I look all right?" He says, "Well, why are you still here? What, is there something else that you need?" "Oh, no. No." He said, "No, I'm good." He said, "Then why are you still here?" She said, "I don't know." He said, "Well, then if there's nothing else, then you can go." "Oh, yes, of course. He said, "You have things you have to do." "Yes, of course. Yes." And they kind of stood there looking at each other for a few seconds, and Macathis is like, "Oh, yes, I'm going. I'm going." So he leaves. Eldred says, "That was weird." Valar says, "Maybe it's just the stress of the last little while. I don't know." He says, "I think we're all under undue strain since Dark died." He says, Eldred says, "May I ask you something?" He says, "Of course, anything." Valar says, "Eldred, what is it?" He says, "I've been thinking about that knock at the door when Elthanor was here." Valar says, "I know." He said, "I checked the door, went and checked the door." He said, "There was no one there." yes. He said, that was odd. He said, Eldred, you can speak your mind, you know that. He said, well, it just seems strange to me that after that knock at the door, he said it wasn't too long afterwards that Elfinor just stormed out of here. He said, I found it odd at the time. He said, now Macathas being the way he just was, he's like, it's all so very strange. Don't you think so, Fuller? He says, what exactly is it that you're hinting at? He said, I don't know. He said, I'm just putting a voice to things that have been running in my head. Fuller said, yes. He said, I can see that. Anyway, he said, we can think about that once we're safely installed at Rowan and Meads. He said, would you mind terribly going to their home and telling them that we'll be coming shortly? He says, of course I will, I'm on my way. So Fuller goes into the kitchen, thinking that it might be a good idea for them to take some food with them, because if they leave the food there, it's just going to go bad. So gathers up some food baskets and puts in some fruit and some bread and some cheese, even some wine, some dried meat. And he says over his shoulder, he says, Glyneth, Fig, he's like, don't pack a lot. We're only probably going to be a couple of days. Yes, all right. Okay, Father. Now in their kitchen, they have stools made out of tree stumps that have been finished. He sits down on one of these. In his mind, he's thinking, what was with that knock? Elfinor did leave shortly after that. He says, I don't know. I can't think about that now. Glyneth comes out with some bags. And she said, oh, I never even thought about the food. Oh, she says, good on you, Fuller. He said, well, it just made sense, dear. He said, we leave it here, it's just going to go bad. He said, and we'll come back to a house full of bugs. And she said, I hate bugs. She said, I know they're necessary, and, I know that they do provide a service, but I hate bugs. And Fig comes out of her room, and she's like, what is this about bugs? She said, where's Eldred, Father? He said, I sent him ahead to Rowan and Meads to tell them that we're going to be on our way shortly. She said, oh, that was a good idea. He said, now why don't you ladies go? He said, I'm going to gather up these food baskets, and when Eldred comes back, he'll help me bring them over. Glyneth says, are you going to be all right here by yourself? He said, of course. He said, I'll be fine, dear. Don't worry about me. She said, but I do worry about you, Fuller. You know that. Fig takes a hold of her mother's arm. She says, come along, Mother. She says, Father will be fine. Shadow is not too far away. He'll be fine. She says, I keep forgetting about Shadow. She said, your almost invisible bodyguard. She said, we never see him. She said, it's hard to not forget about him when he's so not around. So the ladies leave. And Fuller is taking the baskets and he has the door open and is piling them outside of the door on their porch. He's bringing out the last of the baskets when he suddenly is jumped from behind and finds himself face first on the porch, and he hears whoosh, whoosh over his head. He's like, Shadow, what the heck are you doing? He's quiet. He says, you must leave now. He's like, what? He said, no more talking, just go. He said, stay down. He said, Fuller, those were arrows. He's like, arrows? All right. He said, yes, of course. Oh my God. So he scrambles up, brushes himself off, and Shadow's like, would you go? Stay down. So he goes, walking across the suspension bridge. He sees Eldred coming. He's like, stay there, stay there. Sorry. Eldred's like, Blar, what is it? He said, Glenn said something about food. He said, get in the house, Eldred. Eldred, get in the house. Shadow's going to take care of the food, I'm sure. You just get in the house. Pushes Eldred in the house. Shuts the door and hears thunk, thunk, thunk on the door. Eldred like, was that knocking? What the heck was that? He opens the door and there are 3 arrows stuck in the door. Shuts the door and he's like, my God, Blar. He says, somebody's trying to kill you. He says, that's the second time. He said, what do you mean the second time? Glenn's like, what's going on? Suddenly Rowan is in the room. She said, come with me. She said, we don't have time to discuss anything. Come with me now. She said, you're all in danger. They're all looking at her like... Glyneth, of course, is still trying to get out of... She says, Glyneth, please. Valar can explain things once you're away from here. She said, you're all in danger. Eldred's like, we're trapped. We're trapped like rats in a cage. She says, Glyneth, somebody's trying to kill Valar. She, of course, freaks out. Fake freaks out. And Rowan is like, oh my God, would you just please come with me? They're all like, yes, of course. So she leads down a hallway. At the end of the hallway, there's a rather short door. So she goes to the door. She runs her hands along the door frame, mumbling under her breath. Obviously casting some kind of a spell. And the door gets larger and unlocks. She said, Eldred, here, take this lantern. She said, you take the lead. She said, come on, everybody, you have to go. You have to go now. Valar's like, where are we going? She said, this is a staircase in the great tree. Shadow will be waiting for you at the bottom of the staircase. You need to go. You need to go now. I said, okay. So Eldred grabs hold of Fig's hand and they're holding hands as they go down. Fig is crying. Glyneth is crying. Eldred is trying to be strong for Fig. And Valar is just beside himself. He can't believe that somebody's actually trying to kill him. He thought that Elnor's threats were just that, just threats. He never thought she'd actually go through with it. So they go down the spiral staircase. Very well made staircase. The steps are, perfect size. They get to the bottom. And in his head, he hears Shadow say, just put the lantern on the ledge beside the door and lay your hand on the door. And Fig and Glyneth are like, what is it? He said, I think I just heard Shadow in my head. Valar said, what did you say? So he said, whatever it is he said, just do it, Eldred. Puts the lantern on the ledge and lays his hand on the door, and the door unlocks and opens, and there's Shadow. Shadow says, now come quietly. He said, no talking. He said, ladies, please. I know that you're upset. I know you're very upset. He said, but please try not to cry. He said, I don't know where they are. They were magically cloaked. He says, Valar, he's like, I don't know where they are. He says, I feel so bad. I feel like I failed you. He says, it's fine. It's fine. Shadow, just get us away from here. Where are we going? He's like, I'm not telling you where we're going. He said, just follow me. He was like, stay low. He said, but please, stay alert. He said, come on, let's go. So they're, walking, and they're, the men are, Fig is crying, trying not to cry. She's a little teary. She's not sobbing. Glyneth has tears running down her face, thinking that she could have just lost her husband. They walk through the sacred grove. They pass by the remains of Dork's pyre. Seems like yesterday. Maybe it was yesterday. It wasn't too long ago that they were there for her wake, for her immolation. They walk for quite a while, and they end up in the glade where Falar met Ebony and Snow. And there in the glade is this beautiful Bedouin tent. Has several sleeping chambers off of the main part of the tent. There's a kitchen area that's been laid out for them. And Shadow walks into the glade and walks over to them. He says, "I'm so sorry for all of this, Chief Falar." He said, "I can't even imagine how you must be feeling." He said, "I know how I would be feeling." He said to Eldred, he said, "Why don't you take the ladies in?" He said, "There's some nice cold water and fruit juice and other food in the tent." He said, "Why don't you go in there?" He said, "I need to speak to the chief alone." Eldred said, yes, of course." Falar said, "Somebody's trying to kill me, Ebony." He said, "These are my people." He said, "I've been their chief for decades, for years." He said, "How could anybody want to kill me?" Ebony says, "What is it?" He said, "I was thinking about an exchange between Eldred and I before we left to go to Rowan and Mead's." He said he was talking about the knock at the door when Elfinor was there. He went to answer it and there was no one there. But he said, "Really? Well," Falar's like, "What?" He said, "It must have been some kind of a signal. We're ready. We're in place." He's like, "Oh my God," he said. He said, "And what about Macathas?" He said, "Macathas staying behind and urging us to go to stay with Rowan and Mead, and another attempt to be made there." He said, "Is he working with Elfinor?" He said, "She's on the loose, by the way. Crazy broad. She's running around the forest, probably." Ebony says, "Don't worry." He says, "We'll find her. We'll contain her." He's like, "I can't believe somebody's trying to kill me." He says, "This is a nightmare." He said, "Shadow said they were magically cloaked." He said, "Magically cloaked? Really?" He said, "Well, that should make it easier to find them." I said, "What are you talking about, easier to find them?" He said, "Oh, yes." He said, "Every magic user, their magic has a certain signature. Elements of their magic stay with whatever the magic is cast upon." He said, "So, if the spellcaster cast it upon people," he said, "residue of their magic will be left on those people. And then we can find out who they are and find out who the person is that cast the magic by the residue left behind." I said, "Oh." He says, "Okay." He said, "Chief Falar," said, "I'm so sorry." He said, "I can't even imagine how you must be feeling. Terrified. More than frightened. And betrayed. Betrayed by your own people." So Falar leans into him. He said, "But what if they're not my people?" He said, "What, you think they could be mercenaries?" Falar says, "I don't know. Why not? Elfinor's crazy enough. Maybe she didn't think that any of our people, despite the fact of them saying, 'Oh yes, we're with you, Elfinor,' would actually go against their own chief. Maybe they're hired hitmen. He said, but that can't be. Flash says, why not? He said, because. He said, the boundary was not breached. He said, yes, but if they were magically cloaked, he said, would the boundary even recognize them? And he says, I don't know. He said, perhaps not. So he leans a little closer to Falar and he says, Chief Falar, he said, you have my word. He said, we will find these people. You will find these people and they will pay. They will pay to the full extent of Elven law. And if you don't feel like taking matters into your own hands, he said, then leave it to me. He said, and I will see that these fiends are taken care of. I said, how would you do that? He said, you don't want to know. He said, but it won't be pleasant. He said, so choose. Either we follow the magical signature to the source, find out who that source is, and then we deal with them all at once, your way. Or we can deal with them my way, which would be so much more fun. Pilar said, do I have to choose now? He said, or can I wait till we find out who it is? He said, because if they're my people, I want to deal with them. He said, and if they're not my people, then you can deal with them. Ebony said, we have a deal. And we're going to leave it there. Can you believe it? Elfinor, that psychotic bitch, is actually going to try and have Falar killed. Or she did try and have him killed twice. And what about Macathus? Is he in on this with her? Dunno. But we certainly are going to find out. So until we see each other the next time, or until we get together the next time, before I sign off, I want to welcome all of my new subscribers. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. I hope you're enjoying the content. And if you are, please hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of that content. So I'll sign off now. So till we get together the next time, just remember, don't let anyone dull your sparkle. I love you all.